We think it's a great platform for delivery of CBD.
Is it lime mint?
Yeah, you got it.
It is?
Yeah.
Because I like mojitos, it's a little thing I used to do. My name is Jack Maxwell. I once had a job as the booze explorer. Here we go, here we go. But then I got sucker punched by cancer. I then started a whole new journey. Oh my God, is that good? The culture of cannabis. I have cancer, it doesn't have me. Come on, up on the magic bus with me, and let's hit the high road.
Come along with me on this high road.
Kentucky is known around the world for the flavor of its bourbon. They say it has something to do with the water, but there's a whole nother world of flavors created right here in the Bluegrass State. So where do they all come from, and who makes them?
Welcome to Flavor Man.
Oh, this is a nice, bright entrance. Look at that. Flavor Man, of course. All right, look at me. Don't look up there. How many bottles do you have?
286.
Right there?
Right there.
No, is that many?
No, it's not. Not
It's
at all.
not. You're wrong.
No.
There's no way. But every flavor in the world you have, huh?
Every flavor.
This
Every
is what I'm
component
told.
of every flavor, every beverage you can drink is in this building.
Everything.
Everything. Flavor Man's been in business for 28 years. And in that 28 years, we've developed over 50,000 beverage formulations.
Are you Flavor Man?
I'm not Flavor Man.
You're Clark Kent. You go in there, there it is, the lab. You go in there and you come out, poof.
But I put the jacket
Flavor
on, I
Man.
put the clothes on.
Look at this. These are all your products. These are all things that you've come up with flavors for. They came to you and said, you know, we want a lemon spritzer. We want a cherry soda.
Yeah, taste is a hard language to speak.
It's fascinating how you come up with flavors, not in ways necessarily that people would think. You don't just drop a cherry into cherry water and make a cherry flavor, right? It's very complicated and scientific.
Absolutely, yeah. It's mysterious as well because a lot of people don't know where these things come from.
Or what they are. I suppose you'll let me try some and see if I can guess.
We're gonna
the
smell
flavors?
a lot, we're gonna taste a lot, and we'll see how good your nose is today.
Good. I'm here because of the CBD movement and how it applies to beverages now.
Well, it's great timing. We actually have a client in today who's working in the beverage CBD space.
50,000 flavors. We better get going if we're going to get to any of it, huh?
Let's get moving.
Turns out that client he was talking about is my old pal Smoke. He's sampling a new line of beverages his company is concocting.
Would you like to join us? We're
Yes, I would.
tasting some sparkling bottled water with different flavors and CBD for our new line of brands we're launching. Number one criteria for any of our brands is that they taste great.
Yeah.
We think it's a great platform for delivery of CBD.
Is it lime mint?
Yeah, you got it.
It is?
Yeah.
Because I like mojitos, it's a little thing I used to do. It still cracks me up that the owner of a CBD company is named Smoke. That's really a name?
It's really my name. It's been on my birth certificate from birth.
He was meant to do this, right?
CBD is already an unknown, right?
Sure.
So it's something that there's huge interest among the public, but very low information levels. Getting it in the regulated market where it's regulated, taxed, and safe is in the interest of everyone.
I would like to put my 2 cents in, even though I don't know anything about anything. I'm gonna combine mint lime with a little clementine. Oh, that's your winner. Would you try some?
I'll try it.
Jack's mint lime clementine. That's too wordy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, a marketing thing. You'll work that out. Thanks, man. Best
Yeah.
of luck with everything.
Thanks for
That's
joining us.
great. That was fun.
Take a ride with me on this high road.
And now we have with us the gentleman we just met in that scene who was ordering up all those flavors from Flavor Man. His name is Smoke Wallen, and he's the CEO of Vertical Wellness. Hey, Smoke, thanks for coming in.
Hey, Jack, thanks for having me.
I got to tell you, that place is fascinating. Every single flavor that you could think of, and I mean, I know they said like 50,000, but I don't know that many flavors. So to me, certain things taste the same. I don't know if it's orange or tangerine, or you saw how bad I was at my drink thing. That's fascinating, that place. It really is.
Yeah, they really are experts at what they do. It's like watching an artist or maybe a conductor conduct his orchestra, right? They look at all aspects of a flavor, and I've had a great experience working with them for many years in my beverage background, and now that I'm in the CBD and hemp world, I decided to use them again for our new beverages.
Kind of goes full circle. You and I met a while back at a beverage convention. We were both speaking and at the event, and you were getting into, oh, you had been into cannabis for a little while. You transitioned, like you said, you were in the beverage business, but now you're coming back. But you do more than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I spent more than 25 years in the beverage alcohol space. I started out at Seagram and then built a big liquor distributor, National Wine and Spirits, which is now part of a $11 billion company today. And so I cut my teeth in beverage, and then I went on and did a lot of my own brands. And that's where I got to know Flavor Man, because I was trying to create new innovative brands in the whiskeys and vodkas and tequilas and rums and all kinds of other products. And Flavor Man really has a unique position in the industry where they're really good at creating what someone can imagine. So I would imagine a flavor, I would try to describe it, and then the Flavor Man guys would like, is this what you meant? And they come up with like 10 options. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty close, but we always work together.
Well, how about landish with some of your flavors? I mean, it's cherry, it's lemon, it's lime, it's coconut. What did you come up with?
Oh, well, all kinds. Well, actually, I grabbed a couple bottles. So this was one of the brands that before I got into the space in hemp and CBD, I created a brand called Beach Whiskey. And this is a coconut whiskey. And you can see it's clear and it's in a sea glass bottle. But we had a lot of fun with coming up with what would beach whiskey be like? What would day drinkable whiskey be like? Instead of like what you think of like a dark whiskey with a cigar and in the evening, what would something you do maybe at the pool and on your boat or at the beach? And so that was what beach whiskey was all about. So Flavor Man helped me come up with, this coconut whiskey, which might blow your mind, but it's one of the best tasting things ever. I've sold out of the brand, but I still love it. And it's like, for me, brands are like my children. It's hard to pick which one I love the most. So I love them all, even if they move on and leave the house.
Just in case your kids are watching, I won't ask you which one is your favorite. It's funny. A lot of people, I'm sure, when you approach them with this idea, they'd say, "What are you talking about? Coconut beach whiskey? That's called rum. It's outside of the norm." What made you think of this exactly?
So I spent a lot of time in bars, not just drinking, although
me too.
Did my fair share of drinking, but also thinking about the white space. And what I mean by that is when I look at a bar and I look at a shelf set, I look at all the different brands and I say, well, what's missing? What's not? What haven't the big guys thought of yet that could earn its space on a bar, on a shelf set that I could get through distribution, I could get excitement around, and just spent a lot of time thinking about it. And beach whiskey was one of those things where whiskey is kind of left out during daytime, and we were thinking like, well, rum and vodka and tequila and beer and cocktails, like all these things like are kind of day drinkable stuff, and whiskey's kind of left out a lot. So what would whiskey that you could drink at the beach or in the pool, what would that be like? It would be clear, it would be light, it would be in sea glass bottles. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. We had a good time with it, and done that over and over again. But when I sold out of my whiskey business, my wife turned to me and she said, before you do another liquor deal, we got to look at cannabis, we got to look at hemp. And that's really led me down the path to vertical wellness where we are today. But it really came out of like, this is an emerging category and the whole thing is white space. So back to my bar analogy, when you think about what are CBD offerings, beverages, edibles, ingestibles, topicals, all these different formats that you can consume CBD that can help you with different ailments, anxiety, sleeplessness, pain, all kinds of different things that we're discovering along the way. And, the whole thing is white space because there's no big brands. The difference between my old world and this world is that, I don't have a Diageo, I don't have a Brown-Forman and Bacardi that dominate the space. There's nobody that dominates the space. So I feel like it's a unique opportunity to create the next generation of big brands in a category that is in the very early stages of developing.
I think most people would be hard pressed to name a cannabis company who's leading in the brand wars, the Pepsi or the Coke, the Xerox, the Kleenex, the whatever. So good for you, because I know it's a challenge. When you started out, though, it had to have been illegal. So then another challenge, or if not illegal, at least the tide was turning. But it's a big commitment, I'm sure, emotionally, with energy, financial, all of that. But before we get to the actual beverage part, what we were talking about at Flavor Man, vertical wellness is what exactly?
So we're a large-scale processor of hemp into CBD for our own brands, but also for the industry. We this year we'll process in the neighborhood of 20 million pounds of hemp, which is a very large number. And so we're doing that for our own, but we're also doing that for other people in the industry. We're trying to be I think, a constructive industry participant to help build this industry up from nowhere, right? Like you said, it was illegal. When I started, hemp was barely legal. They had the 2014 Farm Bill had passed an experimental program that had to be tied to a university. And so we had about 14 states that had some kind of hemp program happening. And the 2018 Farm Bill, which got passed into law and signed by the president at the end of 2018, really is what created the current environment that allows us to large scale processing of hemp and turning it into products. So we do processing, but we also are, at my heart, I come back to my beverage world, and we're really a brand company. So we're doing the processing, but we're really trying to figure out ways to put that CBD and other cannabinoids that we get out of the plant into brands that we can bring to the public that can be trusted, that you know where the source came from, that you know that it's safe, and that you know that it's reliable company. And that's one of the big challenges that the industry has, is making not just educating people, but also educating people and giving them comfort that what they're buying, what they're purchasing, is something that they can rely on, and they know what's in it. What's on the label is what's in it.
In the interest of full disclosure, Vertical Wellness is one of the entities that made the High Road possible. Smoke, I know that when you were in the beverage business, as you just told us, you went to a few bars, had a couple of cocktails. Were you a cannabis consumer before you got into Vertical, and are you now, or at least the CB part of it?
So I was not a regular user. I'll go further than Bill Clinton did when he was president. I actually did inhale in college, but it wasn't my thing. Like, I wasn't really wasn't a big consumer of it. I had friends that did it, but I wasn't really that wasn't my thing. I'd rather have a cocktail myself. But as we went forward, as I started learning about the business, really what got me exposed to it was some veteran friends of mine who had a lot of challenges coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, that had struggled with a lot of prescription medicines. And then I learned about how they had used this plant to help them get off those medicines, get away from the suicide. And I know you had an episode recently where you had one of those folks on there, but that really struck home to me. And I started doing more research, thinking about it. And I spent 6 months after I sold out of the whiskey business. I spent 6 months researching and kind of networking and learning about cannabis, because it wasn't my world before.
I was talking to Al Harrington in one of the prior episodes, former NBA basketball player, and he's in, as you know, the cannabis business. And he said one of the biggest challenges, the laws change all the time. How do you deal with that? Because just last week we had Lux Retreat on, this place where people go to consume and spend the night, and they call it a bud and breakfast, and they had to shut down because the laws kept changing. How do you pivot every time something like that happens?
Well, it's interesting. So when I got into the space, you have this whole federal regulatory scheme, and then every state has their own set of laws. Well, to me, that's very familiar. The alcohol industry is set up that way. If you go to Pennsylvania, you're going to buy liquor from the state monopoly. If you go to California, you're going to buy it from a Safeway or a grocery store. So we have 50 different countries in the US with alcohol laws, and that's kind of how the cannabis and hemp industry is evolving. So for me, it kind of felt like home. Now the difference is it is changing, and it's so new. So we've had something like 80 years since prohibition was repealed in the alcohol world to fight about the laws, sort it out, figure out how they're interpreted, go through the process. And this is so young and so new. It's live happening. So I think it's more like maybe what Sam Bronfman, when prohibition was repealed in 1933, and Bronfman was sitting on all this aging whiskey in Canada and was ready to flood the market, but the states were all like setting up their laws. I bet it was a lot like what we're dealing with today. It's probably quite similar, but so it's changing all the time. We're having to be very aware of that, paying attention to the current rulings, and always be aware that whatever you're doing, you might have to make a change, a pivot to make sure you're compliant. And we're very focused on being compliant. That's one of the most important things to me, is that even though the laws keep changing, we have to be current with whatever the current law is.
Sure. If you had a wish list of I guess, in order to help people, not just to help your business, of course, but because so many people are benefiting from CBD and medicinal THC, what would you like to see happen? If you were making the rules, what's maybe one thing you would do, or even two things, that would kind of get things on an even keel so that the industry could move forward for the betterment of everyone?
Well, the first and most important thing is, for us to launch those beverages that we were tasting in the episode, we need the FDA to approve ingestibles. So without getting too far down the rabbit hole, when Epidiolex was approved as a drug for childhood epilepsy using CBD, it kicked the CBD regulatory thing to a different category with the FDA. So the FDA came out with a ruling last year in 2019 that said that ingestibles are not permitted yet until we prove that they're safe. Well, there was no evidence before, because we know that anecdotally they're safe, but there was no evidence because it was illegal, so we couldn't have scientific studies before. So we're in this catch-22. The FDA has not permitted them, and yet we know they're safe. And so what we need is the Congress to either change the law and force the FDA to approve them. And I've written a bunch of articles about it. You can find it if you look at my handles, and you'll see a bunch of, I've written about this quite a bit. I've spoken about it. We'd like them to permit ingestibles, maybe in a limited quantity that's a safe level, but that needs to happen. And when that happens, it's going to be a massive catalyst for the whole industry, and it's going to help a lot of people. The problem I have, Jack, is yes, it's good for my business, but the problem is that right now it's not permitted by federal, but state by state they're doing it. So you've got this crazy patchwork of people like trying to do what's right, but they're doing it at the state level and not the federal level, and there's all this confusion. And when you test, the FDA just submitted a report to Congress last week where they had tested a bunch of products, and a whole bunch of them didn't have the amount of CBD that they said they had on the label in it. Now, it's kind of predictable, right? Like, if you don't regulate it and create a system where we all know what the rules are and everybody's going to live by those rules and it's going to be enforced, you're going to have all kinds of, people that are trying to skirt around the law or just trying to make money, a quick buck. We're not one of those. We're not playing in that game. But I think it's in the interest of everyone, regulators, states, the Congress, and most of all, the consumer who's looking for relief. They're looking for help with their ailments, help with sleep. And, the best thing that the government could do is not get out of the way, but permit it and make it transparent so that you know where it came from. You know that what is in the bottle is what's on the label, and we all live by the same rules. And that's what I'm fighting for. I think it's what a lot of people in the industry are fighting for.
I mean, it makes sense. Anything that's on the label, you would want it to be anything, any food product, anything at all. You want what it says on the label. That's why you buy it most of the time. When you say ingestibles, do you mean CBD or THC or both, or just?
So I'm specifically referring to non-THC ingestibles. So that could be CBD, it could be CBN, it could be a whole bunch of other, we talk about two cannabinoids, right? We talk about THC a lot, and we talk about CBD. There's actually like 150 cannabinoids. There's only one that's illegal right now federally, and that's THC. The other 149 are fair game. So I'd like to be able to, with a legal system, put them into beverages, into edibles, into all kinds of formats that can help people. And you're not going to get high on this stuff, but it can help people. And we know that. We know it's happening. We have tons and tons of anecdotal evidence. There's more and more scientific studies coming out. And, there's really been no study that's shown harm by these products. Even in the Epidiolex, when the GW Pharma was going through their whole process of getting the drug approved, they fed lab animals, rabbits and other things. I don't know the whole process, but they fed them like 1,000 times more CBD than any human would ever consume on a ratio of their body. And they had minor indications of liver damage. Well, no one's ever going to take anything like the amount that they were testing. So other than that, I've heard zero scientific evidence of any harm. So I guess, look, the FDA they're busy fighting a pandemic. But let's face it. I want to be clear about this. I've been around politics long enough. I was chairman of the Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of America. I passed a couple laws in Congress in my day, and the politics of this. It's not just this argument. It's the big pharma companies
Sure.
fighting hard behind the scenes to slow this down. If you had billions of dollars of revenue on pain relief drugs, sleep drugs, anxiety drugs, you would have a big interest in preventing a plant that can naturally solve some of those things. And so behind the scenes, they're like, hey, we're going to go solve COVID and we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars doing that. By the way, press pause on the whole CBD thing for a little while, FDA. I believe that's what's happening. I can't prove that because no one will go on the record and say it. But I'm not afraid to say it. I say it. I'll say it publicly.
Let's go back to Flavor Man for a second. You were trying to come up with a concoction, different kind of flavors. Like you say, they give you 10, you choose a little more of this, a little less that. But you're saying now the laws changed, or they haven't changed, and you anticipated, because these were drinks with CBD. But if I'm getting you right, you can't sell them now, right? You can't market beverages with CBD currently.
Well, it's unclear. State by state, you can do it in certain states. When we were there at Flavor Man, the FDA had not come down against it at the time. So what we've done is we have these beverages ready to go. We've got Jack's flavor, the one you created. And, we've got these amazing flavors. We've got a line of teas. We've got sparkling waters. We've got flat water. We've got a bunch of different ready to go, because that takes a while, right? This is not like overnight you create a flavor and a brand that you want. We've got all that kind of ready. We're just not launching them yet until we can get some clarity with the FDA, because I'm trying to be a national company. I'd like to take my company public at some point, and I want to be, and I might be the only Eagle Scout, Boy Scout in the industry. So I'm actually following the current rules, which are unclear. They're murky. So in certain states, I could launch, and I may still do that. I may pick a state or two that the state level has allowed you to do it, and I may do that here in the coming near term. But on a national basis, you really can't do it until the FDA clears this up or the Congress forces them to.
As I said earlier, Smoke Wallen and Vertical helped get this show made. So thank you, my man. And I agree. It's about getting the information out there and letting people decide. That's it. Let's put up some banners, how people can get a hold of you or ask you questions or go to the website to check it out. Smoke Wallen, just like it sounds, on Twitter and Instagram. Follow him. He's got some good information up there and some fun and funny stuff as well, and a lot of family photos. You can find Vertical Wellness on Instagram at VWellnessHemp. And then actually, there you go, the website, vertical-wellness.com. Smoke, I really appreciate not only your advocacy for this, but also your friendship. Thank you.
Likewise, Jack. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. And God bless. And thank you.
Same to you. I wish you the best. That's Smoke Wallen, CEO of Vertical Wellness. And, we'll see you right here next week. Same place, same time on the high road.